It started with fear, the kind that freezes your breath midair. I was standing outside my apartment, trembling, clutching my phone, my heart pounding louder than the city traffic. The man who had been following me for weeks was there again, leaning against a black car, smiling that same crooked smile that haunted my nightmares. He had found me again. I wanted to scream, but no one would listen. In a world full of noise, my terror was silent. My name is Emma Khan, and until that night, my life had been painfully ordinary. I woke up, went to work, came home, repeated the same dull routine, and pretended everything was fine. But for months, someone had been haunting the edges of that routine, a man named Leo. I didn't know when he first started following me. Maybe it was at the train station, maybe outside the cafe where I worked late hours. At first, I thought it was a coincidence. But soon, his face became impossible to ignore, the way he lingered behind me when I walked home, the way his shadow stretched too close under streetlights, the way my phone would ring from an unknown number, and I would hear only breathing before the line went dead. Fear became my unwanted roommate, and it lived in every corner of my mind. I went to the police twice, but they said the same thing each time: we can't do much without proof. That's when I realized that in this world, sometimes terror doesn't need proof. It just needs to exist. That evening, the city was drenched in soft rain, the kind that makes everything look beautiful but hides danger in reflections. I was walking home when I saw him again, Leo, standing across the street, half in shadow, watching me. My heart dropped. I froze for a second, then started walking faster, clutching my phone, praying he wouldn't follow. But when I glanced back, he was already moving toward me. Panic exploded in my chest. I didn't think, I just ran. My heels clattered against the pavement as I searched for someone, who could help. That's when I saw him. He stood outside a dimly lit restaurant, tall, composed, dressed in a black suit that looked more like armor than clothing. Two men stood beside him, their posture sharp, their eyes scanning everything around them. He looked untouchable, like someone who didn't ask for permission to exist. I don't know what made me choose him. Maybe it was instinct, maybe it was madness, but before I could stop myself, I ran to him, grabbed his arm, and whispered the first words that came to mind. "Please, pretend you're my boyfriend." He turned to me, and for a heartbeat, I forgot my fear. His eyes were cold, sharp, the kind that could slice through lies and silence at once. He didn't speak at first, he just looked past me, saw Leo, and something in his gaze changed. Then he did something that both saved me and changed my life. He slid his arm around my waist, pulled me close, and said in a low, commanding voice, "Who's bothering you?" The men beside him tensed instantly, their hands brushing their jackets like they were ready for a fight. When Leo saw him, everything shifted. His confident smirk vanished. He froze for a second, then turned and disappeared into the rain without another word. I stood there, breathless, staring at the stranger who had just scared away my nightmare with nothing but his presence. Inside the restaurant, he led me to a table without asking if I wanted to sit. "Explain," he said simply. I told him everything, about Leo, the calls, the fear. He listened, eyes steady, face unreadable. When I finished, he leaned back and said, "You did the right thing coming to me." I frowned, confused. "You don't even know me." He smirked slightly. "No, but I know fear, and I don't like it when someone uses it." Before I could thank him, he stood, gave an order to one of his men, and they vanished into the night. Then he turned back to me. "If he comes near you again," he said, voice calm but deadly, "call me." He handed me a card. A single name was printed on it, Adrian Moretti. I didn't know then what that name meant. But soon, I would learn that the man I'd begged to be my pretend boyfriend wasn't a hero. He was the Mafia boss who ruled the city's underworld, and somehow, he had just decided that I was his to protect. I remember walking home that night with his card clenched in my hand, my mind spinning in 100 directions. The rain had stopped, but the world still felt drenched in something heavy, like the air itself was warning me that I had crossed into a place I didn't belong. Adrian Moretti. I repeated the name over and over, trying to make sense of the strange mixture of safety and danger that had wrapped around me the moment I met him. I should have been terrified. A man like that didn't belong in the world I lived in. But instead, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. I felt safe. When I got home, I locked every door and window and finally sat down. My reflection in the mirror looked different, like I had stepped into a story that wasn't mine. I kept staring at the card on the table. No phone number, no address, just his name embossed in gold. I should have thrown it away. Instead, I put it in my wallet. Something about him lingered in my mind, the way he had spoken, the quiet authority that silenced the chaos around him. I didn't know what kind of man he was, but I knew one thing: my stalker had run from him like he'd seen a ghost. The next morning, I tried to pretend everything was normal. I made coffee, opened my laptop, and went through my freelance work as if the night before had never happened. But deep down, I knew something had changed. For the first time in weeks, my phone didn't buzz with blocked calls. The street outside my apartment was empty. No shadows, no strange footsteps. It was as if Leo had vanished into thin air. 3 days passed before I saw him again. I was leaving my office late in the evening when a familiar black car pulled up to the curb. The door opened, and there he was, Adrian, as composed and unreadable as ever. "Get in," he said. Not a question, just a statement, like he already knew I would obey. Against every rational thought, I did. The air inside the car felt charged, filled with unspoken tension. He looked at me, eyes steady on the road ahead. "He won't bother you anymore," he said. His tone was calm, too calm. "What do you mean?" I asked quietly. He glanced at me, expression unreadable. "He's gone. You don't have to worry about him again." I froze, my hands gripping my purse. "What did you do to him?" I whispered. He didn't answer. Instead, he said, "You're safe now. That's all that matters." A shiver ran through me. There was something terrifying about the way he said it, not as a comfort, but as a declaration. I realized then that Adrian Moretti wasn't a man who asked for permission. He was a man who made things happen, no matter the cost. When he dropped me off, he leaned slightly toward me, his voice softer but still heavy with control. "If anyone ever threatens you again," he said, "you call me first. No one touches what's under my protection." I wanted to protest, to tell him I wasn't his, but the words never came out. Something in his tone, not possession, but certainty, left me speechless. As his car disappeared into the dark, I realized that my life was no longer ordinary. I had escaped a stalker that night, but what I didn't know was that I had stepped straight into the world of a man far more dangerous, and far more powerful, than anything I had ever feared. And somehow, I wasn't running anymore.